This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty, its incredible detail. Tuning into it, they want to shatter your mind. Talking about Justin Bieber.
Makes the catch. Ball game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Where just like that, when someone comes up and says something like, I am a god, everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was. A god.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Hey, what's up? Hello. Welcome to another episode of the MK Ultra show / experience / propaganda / manifesto / I don't even know what I'm saying. All right. So just got out of the shower. Yep, cold one. Big vibes in the cold shower. Did a little bit of that Wim Hof, in the shower, the breathing. And I'll say this, and then I'll shut up about it. If you're unfamiliar with Wim Hof, get your fucking life together. That's all I'm going to say about Wim Hof. So, anyways, the cold shower, I want to talk about that for a minute because it truly has changed me as a person, I believe. First of all, one of the many benefits of the cold shower for me is when I'm in it, and I mean cold, all the way as cold as your shower gets. Like, I go to the point where the pressure of the water isn't even as fast as it is when it's hot, when it's all the way cold. I'm talking like fucking cold, bro. Like, yeah, Arctic shit out here. But when you're in that coldness, for lack of better verbiage, it's really hard to think about anything else. It's very easy to be completely in the moment when you're suffering, right? When you're in a hot shower, on the other hand, on the contrary, it's very easy to dilly-dally and think a lot and maybe sing a song, scratch your bunghole, whatever floats your boat here in 2022. But when it's cold, it's like you ain't really singing, man, because you're not really joyful at that moment. Bringing the attention to the breathing helps. Not tensing or resisting helps. Easing the pain. It's like when it's cold outside, when winter comes around, you'll find it easier to bear the cold, whether by not clenching and tensing, and rather just letting go and being with what is. It's a very spiritual experience, if you will, a cold shower. It truly is. It only lets you focus on this moment, this very moment. And speaking of showers, a really good analogy of mindfulness. If someone says, what is mindfulness? How do you practice mindfulness? One of the best definitions I've heard of mindfulness is go in the shower, and I'm just talking like a regular hot shower, whatever you take. Go in the shower and try to only think about being in the shower and not anything else. If you can do that, you've mastered mindfulness, okay? But Muji and Sadhguru and, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, all these gods and kings and gurus, probably aren't even able to do that. So don't beat yourself up if you're not able to only think about being in the shower when you're in the shower. But that is the ultimate form of mindfulness meditation, in my experience. Maybe yours is, taking ayahuasca in Peru with a shaman, or, doing mushrooms on a mountaintop with some music or whatever. I think that's cool and all, but like taking drugs to be here now in the Zen zone doesn't really do it for me, because you're not truly present. You're numbed by other substances. So yeah, with that, when I was in the shower, and I was fighting the urge to turn it hot, I was thinking that, wow, yeah, I'm definitely going to talk about this today on the podcast, because it's done a lot. It's done a lot for me mentally, maybe even like emotionally and spiritually. I mean, even physically, because it like heals. I'll talk about what it does physically too. Rewinding, going back in time here, my first experience with cold showers was from an awesome recommendation from a therapist in San Diego, California, where the Libbies stay. Now, San Diego's dope. There's like a lot of Trump signs and a lot of Hummers and pickup trucks down there, and a lot of Marines and shit. I fuck with San Diego. But she's a therapist, great lady. Can't tell you her name because of HIPAA. Not hippo, but HIPAA. She said, try this for your disease, we'll call it. Try to do cold showers. And that was in 2016, to be precise, November of 2016. So we're coming up on November of 22. So what? That's 6 years of cold showers. I haven't taken one every day for the last 6 years because, I've gotten sick and I've just flat out pussied out. But I would say about 75% of the time I've done a cold shower. About 65 to 75% of the time in 6 years. So let's do that math. 365 days times 6 years, that's 2,190 days. Let's just say, on a conservative estimate, times 0.060. Wait. Okay, hold on. 365 times 6. Yep, times 0.60. Yeah, so I mean, I would say roughly about 12 to 1,300 cold showers. And that's not always with just cold. That's probably about 5% of those. Normally, it's a hot shower to the point where I can't stand the heat anymore, and then I will rinse off in the cold. I've gone anywhere from 20 seconds to 10 minutes in cold showers. Ice baths as well, if you have a tub. That's that cold plunge, Wim Hof shit we're talking about, but I don't want to go off too much on a tangent on cold showers, but one of the biggest benefits, again, I already said it, was being fully present. And then you can kind of ride that wave, hopefully for the next 30 minutes to an hour after you get out of the shower, meaning you're able to kind of stay focused and stay present for about an hour, up to an hour or so. I'm able to, at least up to an hour. I don't know about you, but unless any distractions come your way or life happens, right? So we deal with things as they come. Some of the other cool benefits for cold showers. I mean, obviously it wakes you up. Like you'll be awake if you're in a cold shower. So if you're like super tired, you didn't get a lot of rest, you're hungover, you got to get to work, whatever the situation may be for you, try to just do like 30 seconds in the cold shower and see if that helps. The cold shower also, with that, it also gives you energy. Like I said, it wakes you up. It also relieves a lot of like anxiety, worry, and stress. And I'm talking like this is a long-term thing for me. It's a supplement. It's a substitute. It's not like a end all be all. I would say like I was listening to the Joe Rogan episode when he had Sadhguru on, who's a Indian like mystic yogi dude, and Rogan was asking him like, what advice do you have for people who are trying to like get out of this like alcoholic stuff or like depression or like PTSD, like anything, like for somebody struggling in like their early 30s, like what would you tell them? And Sadhguru was just talking in too many fucking parables for me personally. Like it's too his message is too like la da da da, like just fucking say what you mean, And Rogan was telling that he was like, this all sounds like very mystical. Like, what do you mean? And then he said the word tools, and what I got out of that was, tools in my toolbox look different for me than everybody else. We all have different tools, right? Mine, one of them is cold showers. One of them is working out, exercise, the gym, cardio, jiu-jitsu, fitness, kettlebells, running, all that shit, weightlifting, burpees, saunas, meditation. You can meditate in the sauna. You can meditate anywhere, really. You can even somewhat meditate in a cold shower, I guess. Journaling, whether it's on paper or like I'm doing out loud or sharing with a therapist or sharing at a meeting. Just kind of venting helps. Selfless, altruistic service. So doing things for other people without any expectation of anything in return. Service work is probably, for me, the number one thing that just helps overall with my emotional well-being. Diet, exercise, sleep. Those are my big three. For sure. I need a lot of sleep, more than probably most people listening to this. I need 8 or 9 hours. I used to live with a guy who only got like 4 to 6 hours, and he's in his 40s. Like, some people are just wired different. I don't care what David Goggins said. Like, I know my body, and I know when I feel like shit, it's probably because I didn't get adequate sleep, or I ate like shit, or I didn't eat at all, or I'm not exercising. So those are 3 big ones for sure. There's also a what do you call this? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Abbreviation for HALT. Whenever I feel like shit, I'll ask myself, am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Usually, if it's one of those and I address it, I'll feel a lot better. 30% better. Sometimes it's fucking all 4. I'm starving, I'm pissed off, I'm lonely, and I'm exhausted. Cool, dude. Eat some fucking ice cream, take a nap, yeah, so those are some tools that I've learned in my experience. Amongst others, obviously like gaming and shit, listening to music, like just kind of distracting your mind. That's also good. Everything in moderation, though. You don't want to like become a video game addict or whatever. Praying, for sure, like either praying out loud or prayer in action, as they call it. Moving a muscle, changing a thought. And then everything in moderation again, like sweets, chocolate, that kind of stuff helps with emotional stability. And yeah, man, I mean, there's so many more. You can even say like pharmaceuticals prescribed by a doctor, stuff like that, anti-anxiety medications. And the list goes on and on and on until 6 in the morning. So where was I? Getting back to other benefits of the cold showers. One thing that it does physically for me is for my skin. It's funny, like when I get out of a really hot shower, I gotta like lotion up, like I'm like, like a black chick, because like my skin will get really dry if it's just a hot shower. But if I do a cold shower, I swear to God, my skin is just like, it doesn't even need lotion. It feels good. It feels my pores are cleansed and I'm not itchy and shit. So I love what it does for my skin. I love what it does for my mind. It eases the anxiety, the tension, the anger, the rage, the fear, the stress, the doubt, the guilt, the shame, whatever. And it kind of just helps me like center in and focus. And so many other things. It's funny because like every time I take a cold shower, I find out another benefit. And I'm like, that's another one. Like, you got to write these down. And I never do. So I'm just trying to go off memory right now, what they do, But yeah, so I mean, I love cold showers. That's basically what I'm saying. And a lot of my family and friends think I'm crazy for it. I've had some friends take my suggestions when they ask for help. I never give unsolicited advice. Whoever does that is fucking cringe. And yeah, I used to be that guy, but I don't do that no more. But if you ask for my advice, I'll give you advice. I'll say, listen, like I went to church, or I go to the gym, or I eat red meat and fucking drink milk, or drink a lot of water, or I'll do a cold shower. And every time I go to the cold shower, they're like, nope, you had me at that. Like that's the one I'm not trying to do. And I get it because they suck. And people are like, well, they probably aren't cold for you anymore. You've taken so many of them. It's like, no, they still suck, right? Like, for example, if someone told you in 30 days, I'm going to kick you in the nuts, would you get kicked in the nuts every day for 30 days so it doesn't hurt as much on the 30th day? Probably not. It's still going to suck, right? So that's kind of how I look at it, and the breath will set you free. So get in the shower, let it all out, rage. Sometimes I'll do like a primal scream even, and my neighbors probably think there's like a homicide going on at your mama house whenever I do that, because I will literally get in the cold shower. I'll blast some like Nordic Viking music that you hear on like the Northman, and like loud as fuck on my JBL speaker, right, with the bass. It's like doom, 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 doom. And I'll get in the cold shower like a fucking warrior and just like let it all out and literally scream my guts out. That primal screaming helps for sure as well. Letting go of your ick and your shit. Things that don't help my emotional stability are like dating apps and social media in general. When I first got sober, I deleted my Facebook, my Snapchat, and my Instagram. I never looked back since. That was like in 2015. I haven't had those apps. Talking about 7 years without this. Well, I had Instagram during COVID when I was a personal trainer for like marketing purposes. But let's be honest, I fucking got so obsessed with like, it became a personal account, right? I was like looking at chicks and looking at guns, and that's when all the riots were happening and everything was so divided. And yeah, fuck Instagram, dude. That is literally a cancer. So I deleted that. I haven't had that in a while now again. But social media sucks. It really does. Dating apps are garbage, but we are in the metaverse. So it's kind of the new norm now. Only website I fuck with now is Discord, man. And YouTube. Everything is on YouTube. Like literally everything's on YouTube. So anyways, yeah, man. So I just have been trying to explore and find out more about myself. Like I always say, the more I learn, the less I know. And I really want to travel. I really want to get some perspective after watching that Anthony Bourdain documentary. And this whole past year, I really wanted to book a trip to like Rome and do like the whole Europe thing. Germany, Amsterdam, France, whatever, right? London, England. But fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm actually changing the route, and I'm going to go to fucking Asia, dude. And check it out, right? Here's why. First of all, it's completely different than North Carolina. Like London and shit. It's just like New York. They have cities, and it's like first world shit, and they got like iPhones and Starbucks and all this bullshit material stuff. But if you go to like Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, like Southeast Asia, maybe Bali even would be dope. Those places are essentially third world countries, and they're just alternate realities. I want to gain some perspective. I want to go somewhere completely different, off the fucking grid, and just be there and just explore it, get a feel for the culture, try the foods, talk to the people, and just do some different stuff. Because think about it, if I'm in, Berlin, like I'm probably gonna go into like a fucking Nike store, like probably gonna like see some sports games on the TVs at the bars. Fuck that. I can do that here. Oh, you should ride the train. Dude, fuck that. I'm trying to like be like out in Asia. And it's funny because it's from that, what does he say in the movie? Oh man, it's one of those stoner movies. Knocked Up, maybe? He's like, you know how I know you're gay? You like Asia. I always thought that was funny. But it would also be cool to go to like Tokyo or Hong Kong. Those are big cities, obvi. But just saying, I think Asia's a move for December when I have some time off. But for now, exploring my surroundings, I went on a sick hike this weekend. All right, so I'm not a big hiker guy. I'm not big into like going out there and like finding yourself in the woods. I think that's all like pretty gay, honestly. But I had a buddy come up this weekend and he wanted to go for a sick hike. So I found a place and we went, and it turned out to be fucking badass. And I ended up being really scared. All right, so you can Google this place. It's called Frying Pan Lookout Tower in North Carolina. Basically, you hike up, I don't know, about 3/4 of a mile, all uphill to the top. And at the top, there's an abandoned tower, lookout tower. And you're allowed to go to the top of it. There's stairs and shit, but it's old. You can hear every nook and cranny. You can hear all the screws and bolts when you're walking up. And the tower itself stands at about 70 foot tall. It might not sound high, but when you're going up like 8 flights of stairs on a tower that you can hear shaking in the wind, you'll be shaking in your boots, kid. You know what I mean? So we went to the top of that. Elevation was about 5,400 feet, which is pretty fucking high, kid. It ain't the Rockies, but it's the Appalachians. It is what it is. It was high as fuck, and it was sick. We had fun. And then I brought him to a cold plunge outside in nature, one of those like swimming holes, one of them all swimming holes down yonder ways. And that shit was cold as hell. It was cool to bring him in there because I was just like, bro, just breathe, just be in it, don't tense up, just breathe. And we were both in there up to our necks, up to our neck level for about 5 minutes. Just eyes cold, just being there. It was sick, and he had a blast. I had a blast too, so that was fun as shit. The drive to the hiking destination was about an hour, so about 2 hours out and back, as the hikers say, round trip, about 2 hours. 2 hours. Me and this friend of mine, best friend, going to his wedding as a groomsman next month. We are big into music, big into the classic rock scene, big into the 90s rock scene. So we just had a fucking ball, man. We were just blasting Hendrix and Pink Floyd and Alice in Chains and Nirvana, and just, we had a fucking ball, kid, is what I'm saying, Teddy Ballgame was out there throwing us grand slams. So it was fun as shit. We were playing a lot of the music that we used to kind of like smoke pot to back in high school days, but now we're doing it and we weren't under the influence of any substances. So it was, what do the kids say? It hit different, bruh. If you listen to Voodoo Child sober, 5,000 feet up in the sky, it's gonna hit different. It was sick. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. You know what I'm saying? Talk about Jimi Hendrix, 27 Club, best guitarist of all time. But made me want to start getting into music again, man. I got my acoustic guitar. I sold my electric guitar a long time ago, and that's one of my regrets. But you can always buy a new one. So I've been looking at maybe getting a new guitar. I was talking about guitars on the server today with some guys. Probably going to get a Strat just because that was my first guitar, and I have a Strat tattooed on my arm, and Hendrix played a Strat, and Eric Clapton played a Strat, and David Gilmour played a Strat, but the Les Paul is definitely a contender, right, Yog? The Les Paul is definitely a contender. Jimmy Page fucking made that thing sound like God when he would play it. The Good Times, Bad Times solo, or the Heartbreaker solo by Led Zeppelin. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Talk about shaking in your boots, kid. So that was fun, but yeah. And then this morning I was on a 90s rock kick. I was listening to Alice in Chains. I'll tell you exactly what I was listening to this morning. It was, it was so good. I was just getting ready. I was stretching on the yoga mat this morning. I was listening to the songs Nutshell and Wood, W-O-U-D ? Alice in Chains is so good. And then I started getting into Audio Slave, rest in peace Chris Cornell, rest in peace Lane Staley, Nirvana, all these grungy guys, all dead, but all creative geniuses, And sometimes when I listen to that music, I have to bring it back and put on something positive because it'll kind of put me into that dark place. That's the one good thing about music is when it hits, you feel no pain. Bob Marley said that. But that's true. And it definitely hit this morning. It hit different. It slapped. And just a good way to get your day started with some good music, jams, stretching, breakfast. Like I said, things that help me emotionally. 8 hours of sleep, stretching / yoga / exercise, going for walks, water, diet, exercise, all this shit. And, it's like, yeah. So all those guys had one thing in common. They were addicts and they were depressed. They suffered from clinical depression and substance use disorder. And whenever I think about substance use disorder or addiction, I think of AA, NA, and stuff like that. Went to a meeting last night. It was really good. Right across the street from where I live. I literally got to just walk out of my door at 4 minutes till the meeting started, and I was early still. So that's how close it was. And it reminded me of why I fuck with addicts and alcoholics, man. They're relatable. Plain and simple. I can relate to you. I can relate to people that had a crippling addiction when they were 15 years old, I can't relate to somebody who went to UNC Chapel Hill at 18 and, his parents are happily married and he's waiting on his trust fund to get deposited. I just can't relate to that. Sounds like an awesome life, for sure. Would I complain about having a trust fund and my parents buy me a Mercedes-Benz for my 16th birthday? Ardrey Kell High School, where you at? No, I wouldn't complain at all. That'd be sick. But that's not what my life looked like. My life looked a lot different than that. So last night when I was sitting in that room, I was able to relate to a lot of them. I judge a lot of people in meetings, big time. It's one of my character defects, if you will. I'll just judge the fuck out of you without even knowing your name. I'll play up this whole story in my head of what your life is like and why you're wrong and why I'm right. And that's just one of my character defects, man. And I don't feel bad saying that. I don't feel like an asshole saying that. We all have judgment. We all have problems. And some of us talk about it. Some of us talk about them. Some of us don't talk about them. So the people I really relate to in meetings is the ones that I meet who have divorced parents, because that's like a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. It just is. I think because I've said this before, I believe most of everyone's trauma is from their childhood. There are varying degrees of trauma. Just because you, if you, for example, if you were raped, God forbid, by your uncle in the dirt in West Virginia when you were a kid, that's fucking trauma. That's like trauma DEFCON level 5. You know what I mean? But if you just had parents divorced and other things happened around the house, there's also trauma tied to that as well. Trauma is just a big word. You think trauma? When I think of trauma, I think of like a fucked up like military veteran, or like blunt force trauma to the head with like a fucking 2x4. But according to Psychology Today and the DSM-5, trauma is defined as much more different than that. So let's do that. Let's find out the dictionary definition of trauma, shall we? Trauma is, and this is from APA, American Psychological Association. Okay. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or a natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. So yeah, I think there's very varied degrees to trauma. But anyway, save the trauma for your mama, right? Because life is not like the movies, kids. It's not. Life isn't like the movies, Seeing people partying in Vegas with bottle service and 20 Filipino hookers getting in a Lambo and cruising off into the night. It's just not reality. It's just not what it's like. Even Hunter Biden probably doesn't even have a life like that, man. But it just kind of brought me to my last thought before I close out. See how long we've been going for here. About 32 minutes. This is a record episode. The last thought I was going to say is how life is not like the movies, right? And so I've talked about this before, and I'm going to keep talking about it because this is my fucking podcast. Wanting to look for a job that fulfills me, it's kind of coming to a real decision to make, because life is not like the movies. It's like, even if you get like a badass job and you're a fucking Navy SEAL, it's still not like movies like American Sniper make it out to be. Listen to them. Listen to Navy SEALs talk on, podcasts and shit. They'll tell you, like, most of the day they're just lifting weights, and cleaning whatever shit, and doing drills, doing shooting activities and exercises and shit like that, I'm sure. But, like 5% or 10% of the time, probably not even, are they going on missions and raids and shit like that. And even those probably fucking suck. Think about it. The movies make it look cool, but in reality, you're like sitting there trying not to die and make sure your friend doesn't die and make sure you can get home to your wife and kids. And she's probably writing you Dear John letters in the mail, fucking the neighbor. So yeah, it ain't like the movies, dude, and I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a cop, and man, those jobs just, they don't pay a lot. And how many fires does a fireman put out? Like, other than 9/11, how many fires do you think the people in the FDNY put out? Not many. And probably more in a city like New York than, a town like wherever you live. Like I said, I train with a guy, and he has never put out a fire. He says his job is fucking boring. I was walking by or driving by the firehouse the other day, and the guy was literally sitting on a picnic chair with a racquetball, just throwing it up against the wall and bouncing back to him. Like, that was his life that day. So, yes, he was getting paid to throw a racquetball at the wall, but is that really how you want to spend your day? So what I'm saying is, I want to do something exciting, something thrilling, but my expectations have been lowered substantially. I know it's not going to be like the movies, So I'd like to do something that I love to do every day. I would love to have the feeling of not being at work when I'm at work. I have my dream job. I love what I do. I haven't worked a day in my life. Really? What the fuck is your job? Because I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to get hired there. Man or woman or they, them, which doesn't even sound correct. They is plural. It's like they went to the mall. They are shooting at me. They are protesting the cops. That's a plural. That's a group of people. He went to the mall. She is protesting. Or we. But when you say they, I think plural. And forgive me if I'm not hip with the times, folks. I'm just saying how I was brought up to talk about I learned pronouns in like first grade. Okay? He, she, yours, your, we, they, them is plural. So I don't know. They're trying to change the English language, and they're probably teaching that to kids in school today. Fine. You go teach those kids. Fuck that. I do not want to make $20 a year to force kids to learn math against their will. Fuck that. So I'll find something. We all will. Or we won't. And then we'll die. And we'll be chilling. So either way, it's not too bad. And that's not a dark, deep, masochist way of looking at life. That's actually one of the, I forget if in the Buddhist thing, if it's like the, one of the Four Noble Truths or the Eightfold Path or whatever, but basically suffering is temporary, right? So also is life. Life is temporary. So the high that you might be riding when you're making out with your dream girl will go away. So don't cling to it, right? They tell you to not get so attached and enmeshed in that feeling because you will crash. And if you don't cling to it, the crash won't be as hard. Okay? Just like when you're down in the dumps, if you're like me and you're blasting Nirvana and you're sulking in it, it's just going to make it worse. But this too shall pass. It always does. So even if, was my fucking air conditioner on that whole time? Sorry, it's like an automatic air conditioner unit in my apartment. I can't help it. Or I can, but I didn't notice that it was on because I have headphones on. But what I was saying was basically, it'll pass, man. Like, even the worst of it, at the end of the day, no one gets out of here alive. So there's no use in tripping over these little things that seem to be so worldly in our point of view, because in our minds, we're the only thing that matters and nothing else is important other than what's going on with us. But, it's just like, I have to remind myself this multiple times a day to stop worrying so much, because no one gets out of here alive. That's it. That's the fact. So while we're here, you might as well just fucking enjoy it and do things that you like to do, and don't do things that you don't like to do. Okay. And I'm not going to go on a tangent because I've talked long enough, and you kind of know where I stand. But that's it. That's really the rant. First time in a week episode, so had a lot to share, and I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks. Bye.